Hey guys, today we imagine the morning light filtering through your window, warming the corner of the room where you keep your journal and favorite pen. You're seated at your desk, coffee in hand, your eyes tracing the steam as it rises into the still air. Reality check. Worrying about money won't pay your bills if your head isn't in the right place. What if wealth wasn't complicated? No fluff, no jargon. You can learn a simple perspective that changes everything. Before we talk numbers, accounts, or market returns, you need the right lens, your mindset. Because here's the Zekin. Wealth doesn't begin with dollars. It begins with how you think about them. You can earn a mountain of cash and still feel trapped. Your mind tethered by scarcity, comparison, or the itch for instant gratification. But when you shift how you view money, from a status symbol to a trusty tool, your entire financial journey takes on new shape. So what is this wealth mindset? At its core, it's the realization that money is neither good nor evil. It's indifferent, like a hammer. In the hands of a builder, it creates. In the hand of a vandal, it destroys. You get to choose how you wield it. Instead of asking, "What can I buy today?" you begin to ask, "How can I make this money work for my freedom?" That twist in questioning is where transformation starts. Think back. You've been trained to consume. From the first paycheck. Advertising whispers that more possessions equal more happiness. Bigger TV, newer car, trendier gadgets. The culture teaches you to chase fleeting thrills, to elevate your worth through purchases. But with the wealth mindset, you flip that script. You see purchases not as trophies, but as choices. You ask, does this align with my freedom goals? Suddenly, that designer bag morphs into a distractor. And that sleek new phone becomes a detour from your destination. J.L. Collins famously wrote letters to his daughter not to teach stock trading, but to impart a philosophy. Money is your ally, not your master. He wanted her to inherit peace of mind, so she could make choices without financial fear. And this mindset isn't reserved for the rich. It's available to anyone, anywhere, regardless of income. In fact, those who've navigated tight budgets often have the head start. They know every dollar counts because they've felt its absence. To develop this mindset in your life, start by reframing your daily thoughts. When you celebrate the tool you've gained, not the ego boost. When temptation strikes, pause and visualize planting that dollar as a seed for future freedom, rather than letting it sprout into temporary pleasure. This mental habit rewires your brain from spend to invest. Next, detach your identity from things you own, your car, your clothes, your gadgets. None of them define your value. Instead, tie your sense of worth to your ability to choose how you spend your time, whom you spend it with, and the impact you leave behind. When you internalize that freedom is the true marker of wealth. You start to spend and save with purpose. Real-world example. Jane, a teacher earning a modest salary, once felt stuck in the consumer treadmill. She hated seeing her paychecks vanish on lunches out and weekend sales. Then she made a switch. She began visualizing every dinner bought as a step away from her dream of a sabbatical year. She tracked her spending, saw how small indulgences chipped away at her goals, and shifted habits. A year later, she'd built a 5-month emergency fund and felt a peace she never knew existed. Money had become her ally. Remember, The wealth mindset doesn't demand denial. It's not about living like a monk. It's about spending intentionally, aligning every dollar with your values. If freedom is your highest value, you'll prioritize savings, investments, and debt-free living over consumer hype. When you do this, you unlock a calm confidence that shields you when life inevitably throws curveballs. Job losses, health scares, market dips. You don't panic because your mindset is rooted in independence and long-term thinking. Here's your challenge for today. Grab a pen and paper. Close your eyes and imagine a day in your ideal future. No money worries, only possibilities. Who are you with? What time do you wake? What brings you joy? Then, write down that vision in vivid detail. Keep it somewhere you'll see every morning. That clear vision will guide your money choices, keeping your mindset sharp and your path clear. Debt is the silent predator that creeps into your life, whispering promises of buy now, pay later, while it slowly steals your options, your peace, and your future freedom. It doesn't roar, it murmurs, playing on your desire to live a little. But make no mistake, each balance you carry, each minimum payment you make, is a ball and chain around your ankles, dragging you further from the life you really want. You've heard the commercials. 0% interest for 6 months. Buy today, pay over time. Those ads are designed to cloud your judgment, to lure you into thinking that debt is a convenience rather than a prison. But debt doesn't care about your dreams. It only cares about the interest it can extract from you. Day after day, month after month, year after year. Think about your own paycheck. How much of it disappears before you even start saving? Rent, utilities, groceries, car payments. But tucked into that list may be high-interest consumer debt, credit cards charging 18-24%, store financing at 20%, payday loans that lurk even higher. When you make just the minimum payment, most of your money goes to interest, not principal. It's like pouring water into a bucket that has a hole. No matter how much you pour, it never fills. Here's a hard truth. You cannot invest your way out of high-interest debt. Even the best stock market returns pale in comparison to the cost of credit card interest. If you're paying 20% interest on a balance, no index fund, no matter how strong historically, can consistently outrun that drag. Your investments stall, your savings lag. And all the while, the debt snowball grows. And debt doesn't only steal money, it steals your peace of mind. Imagine waking up with a knot in your stomach, checking your phone for bank alerts, calculating which payment is due this week, which card is maxed out. That stress seeps into every corner of your life. Your relationships, your sleep, your ability to focus at work. Debt is more than a ledger on paper. It's a weight in your chest. Worse, debt steals your freedom of choice. Let's say you dream of a sabbatical year to write a novel, volunteer abroad, or travel with loved ones. You imagine waking up with time to pursue passion, not paychecks. But when debt payments loom, you're tethered to a job you might loathe, chained to a schedule you didn't choose. Debt turns your dreams into distant echoes. Even those earning strong incomes can fall into the debt trap. Picture two people making $100,000 a year. Person A lives on $70,000, invests the rest, and treats debt like the enemy it is. Person B upgrades their car, refinances their home, carries $15,000 in credit card balances, and splurges on fancy vacations. 10 years later, Person A has a growing investment portfolio and the freedom to decide whether to work or not. Person B has shiny toys, and nothing to show for it but stress and missed opportunities. This phenomenon is called lifestyle creep. As your income rises, your spending inflates right along with it. You convince yourself that each upgrade is well-earned or deserved. But in reality, you're sacrificing your options. That bonus you celebrated last year, you spent it on a flashy trip. The next bonus, another gadget. Meanwhile, the debt monster grows fat on your interest payments. Debt also steals your future wealth through opportunity cost. Imagine you pay $800 a month in minimum payments on a credit card balance. That's $9,600 a year going purely to interest and fees. Now imagine if that same $800 flowed into a low-cost index fund every month. At a 7% average return, after 10 years you'd have roughly $135,000. Which scenario do you choose? Debt guarantees a loss. Investing promises growth. J.L. Collins pulls no punches. Debt is a financial prison, and you hold the key. The first step is brutal honesty. Make a list of every debt you owe, balances, interest rates, and minimum payments. Lay them out in front of you like an enemy lineup. No hiding, no sugarcoating. This list is your reality check and your roadmap. Once you have the list, you have choices. You could attack the smallest balance first, the snowball method, celebrating quick wins as each zero appears. Or you could target the highest interest rate first, the avalanche method, saving the most money over time. Both work. Choose the one that keeps you motivated. The important part is to commit to one approach and never look back. Here's a real-world example. Alex, a mid-level manager earning $75,000, carried $20,000 in credit card debt at 22% interest and $10,000 in a personal loan at 12%. His minimum payments totaled $700 a month. He felt trapped. His mind never at ease. Then he switched gears. He listed his debts, chose the avalanche approach, and threw every extra dollar at the credit cards. Within 14 months, the cards were paid off. He had reclaimed nearly $10,000 a year that had been dissolving into interest. He reinvested that money, and within 5 years, he had a six-figure portfolio, plus the peace of mind he never knew he craved. This isn't about judgment. It's about empowerment. You didn't get into debt because you're irresponsible. The financial world is set up to keep you in its grasp. Banks offer easy credit. Marketers glorify instant gratification. And the culture normalizes living like there's no tomorrow. But you can choose a different path. The path of freedom. To escape, you need obsessions, and I mean that in the best way. Get obsessed with being debt-free. Make a plan. Cut expenses ruthlessly. Sell unused items. Cancel subscriptions you don't love. Negotiate bills. Pick up side gigs. Sell crafts. Tutor. Deliver food. Whatever it takes to throw extra fuel on your debt-burning fire. Treat debt repayment like a mission, a game you refuse to lose. Most importantly, adopt this truth. Every dollar paid toward debt is like earning a 20% unearned percent return on your money. Risk-free. There's no better investment than eliminating high-interest obligations. Remember that when the temptation to splurge tugs at you. Imagine those dollars sprouting into seeds for your future, instead of feeding a monster that grows stronger each month. Once you're debt-free, stay debt-free. Don't borrow for wants, only strategic needs, and even then with caution. Use your credit cards only if you can pay them off each month in full. Keep an emergency fund to avoid future reliance on high-interest credit. Your freedom depends on it. Here's your challenge today. Pull out your financial apps or statements. List every debt you carry, credit cards, loans, store financing, anything with interest. For each, write down the balance, the interest rate, and minimum payment. Then ask yourself, and if I dedicate an extra $100, $200, or $500 per month to these balances, when will I be free? Circle that freedom date on your calendar. Make getting out of debt your non-negotiable mission. Because once you break those chains, the doors of wealth swing wide open. Spending less than you earn is the single most powerful habit you can build, because without it, nothing else matters. You might command a six-figure salary, but if every penny disappears on bills, takeouts, and impulse buys, you're stuck treading water, never building the foundation for freedom. In contrast, even modest incomes can rocket toward independence when you live below your means. That gap between your income and expenses is your engine for wealth. Let's be clear, living below your means isn't about deprivation or grim austerity. It's about intention, aligning each dollar with what truly matters to you. Picture your financial life as a bucket. Income pours in through the top. Expenses pour out through holes of varying sizes. Your goal is to shrink those holes enough that the bucket gradually fills. Each dollar you save is a drop of water that stays, ready to be invested and grown. Start with awareness. You can't fix what you don't measure, so track every expense for 1 month. Use whatever tool feels natural, a spreadsheet, a budgeting app, or a simple notebook. Record everything: rent, coffee, groceries, streaming subscriptions, Uber rides, impulse buys at checkout lines. No judgment, just data. At the end of the month, you'll have a clear map of where your money disappears. Now, review that map critically. Ask yourself, what could I trim by 10% right now without real sacrifice? Maybe it's swapping expensive lattes for homebrewed coffee. Perhaps it's canceling a subscription you rarely use. Maybe you negotiate a lower rate on your phone plan or shop generic brands instead of name brands. Those small cuts often add up to big savings. Turning off the lights when you leave a room, skipping one takeout meal a week, or selling an unused piece of furniture. Those tiny adjustments compound. Imagine shaving off just 10% of your monthly spending. For someone spending $4,000 a month, that's $400 extra that stays in your bucket. Over a year, that's $4,800 you can save or invest. Over 5 years, you're talking more than $25,000. Suddenly, living below your means doesn't feel like penance. It feels like power. Of course, you can go further. Identify the big 3 expenses: rent or mortgage, transportation, and food. These typically swallow the lion's share of your budget. Could you downsize to a smaller apartment, move to a lower-cost neighborhood, or refinance your mortgage? Could you swap your high-payment car for a reliable used vehicle? Could you cook more meals at home, bulk prep lunches, or lean into cheaper but healthy ingredients? Each major expense you trim accelerates your savings rate dramatically. Real-world example. Mark, a marketing coordinator earning $55,000 a year, was spending $45,000 of it. His savings rate sat at a paltry 18%. He tracked expenses and realized $600 a month went to dining out and ride shares. He committed to cooking at home 5 nights a week and using public transit twice a week. That cut $400 from his monthly budget. He also negotiated a 15% discount on his renter's insurance and saved another $25 monthly. In a year, his savings rate jumped to 35%, and he stashed an extra $7,500 into investments, enough to cover 3 months of living expenses. Next, explore ways to increase the gap by boosting income. Side hustles aren't just for gig economy fans. They're powerful tools for anyone seeking financial independence. Tutor online, freelance your skills, rent out a spare room, or sell handcrafted goods. Even a couple $100s a month adds fuel to your savings fire. Treat your side income as sacred. Route it straight into savings or investments rather than letting it slip into lifestyle upgrades. Remember, living below your means doesn't require suffering. You can still enjoy life's pleasures, but you choose them intentionally. Want that concert ticket? Factor it into your budget and look forward to the experience, knowing you earned it without derailing your goals. Tempted by the latest gadget? Sleep on it for 48 hours. If you still crave it after that pause, then decide. Often, the craving fades, saving you money and regret. Frugality isn't punishment, it's strategic spending. It means valuing substance over status. It means replacing "what will people think" with "what will this choice mean for my freedom?" When you shift to this mindset, cutting expenses becomes empowering. You're not depriving yourself, you're prioritizing your highest values: peace of mind, time freedom, and long-term security. To reinforce your new habits, automate savings. Treat your future like a bill, non-negotiable and scheduled. Each payday, direct a set percentage of your earnings into a separate savings or investment account. If you pay yourself first, the remaining amount automatically becomes your spendable income. This simple trick removes temptation and decision fatigue. You won't miss what you'd never see. Real-world example, Priya, a graphic designer, set up auto transfers of 20% of her paycheck to a high-yield savings account. She never had to think about saving. It just happened. Over 18 months, she built a 6-month emergency fund. When her car needed a surprise repair, she paid cash without stress. That experience reinforced her habit and deepened her sense of security. Finally, celebrate progress. Every time you slash an expense or save a chunk of cash, acknowledge it. That positive reinforcement cements the behavior. Share victories with a friend or journal them. Recognize that each saved dollar is a vote for your freedom. Here's your challenge today. Review your past month's expenses. Identify 3 categories where you can cut at least 10% each. Make a concrete plan, swap, negotiate, or automate, and implement it by the end of this week. Then track the results. Witness the gap widen, feel the relief, and watch your bucket begin to fill. FU Money is the cornerstone of true financial autonomy. It's the cushion that gives you the power to walk away, to say no without fear, and to chart your own course. You've done the work of shifting your mindset, slashing debt, and widening the gap between earning and spending. Now it's time to build a buffer so formidable that no toxic job, unexpected layoff, or relationship strife can hold you hostage. That buffer is FU Money, the financial runway that separates desperation from dignity. Imagine your life as a tightrope walk high above the ground. Without a safety net, every gust of wind, an emergency car repair, a sudden medical bill, a boss's ultimatum feels like it could send you plummeting. FU Money is your net, woven from months of living expenses, ready to catch you when life's storms hit. It's not about hoarding for hoarding's sake. It's about securing your freedom to choose. So what exactly qualifies as FU Money? It's more than an emergency fund. An emergency fund covers immediate crises, flat tires, minor medical bills, leaking roofs. FU Money extends further, 6 to 12 months of essential living costs, saved and easily accessible, so you can pause, pivot, and pursue the next chapter on your own terms. It's enough to weather extended bouts of unemployment, to venture into entrepreneurship, or to step away from situations that compromise your values without immediate desperation. Begin by calculating your true monthly essentials. Strip out all non-essentials, dining out, streaming, extra subscriptions, and focus on rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, insurance, transportation, and minimal incidentals. Let's say the total is $3,000 a month. Your FU money target would be $18,000 for 6 months or $36,000 for a full year. That's your freedom number. Next, create a dedicated account for this cushion, one you treat as sacrosanct. Give it a name that inspires you. Freedom Fund, Walkaway Money, or even FU money if you need the reminder of its power. Automate monthly transfers into this account, treating contributions as non-negotiable. Even $200 a month accumulates. Over 5 years, you'll have $12,000 plus interest, edging you closer to 6-month coverage. Real-world example, Sarah, a 32-year-old project manager, lived modestly and saved 30% of her $70,000 salary. She automated FU money contributions into a high-yield savings account and built up $25,000, about 9 months of expenses, over 3 years. When her company underwent a hostile takeover and culture soured, she didn't panic. She calmly gave notice and negotiated a severance package and took 2 months off to reassess. That cushion gave her the confidence to interview selectively and land a role aligned with her values, with higher pay and less stress. FU money also shifts your internal dialogue. Rather than fearing, what if I lose my job, you think, if I choose to leave, I can. That mindset changes interactions at work. You negotiate raises from strength, you refuse unreasonable demands, and you stand firm on your boundaries. People sense when you're financially secure, and that confidence often translates into respect and better opportunities. Building FU money doesn't require dramatic income spikes. Incremental steps add up. Sell items you no longer use. Pick up odd jobs on weekends. Trim a few subscriptions and redirect those dollars. Each extra contribution is a brick in your fortress. Even small side hustles, freelancing, tutoring, rideshare driving, plant seeds that grow into your safety net. Protect your FU money. Resist the temptation to tap it for wants, vacations, gadgets, impulse splurges. This is not your fun fund, it's your autonomy fund. Set rules. Only touch it for true emergencies or deliberate career pivots. If you withdraw, rebuild immediately, even upping your contribution temporarily to refeed the cushion. The benefits ripple beyond finances. You sleep better, knowing you have a buffer. You make decisions from a place of power, not panic. You pursue opportunities, career changes, further education, passion projects with less anxiety. You gain psychological resilience because you've proven you can handle uncertainty. Here's your challenge for today. Calculate your true monthly essentials and multiply by 6 and by 12. Write down both numbers. Open a separate account labeled Freedom Fund and set up an automatic transfer of at least 5% of your income each payday. If you can't start at 5% and start at 1%, the habit matters more than the amount. Commit to reviewing and increasing that percentage every quarter until you reach your 6-month target. Each contribution is a vote for your freedom. The stock market can feel like a roaring beast, full of wild swings and headlines that scream chaos. But what if you saw it not as a monster to fear, but as a patient ally, quietly compounding your wealth while you sleep? When you shift your view, the market transforms from an intimidating roller coaster into a powerful, reliable engine for freedom. At its heart, the stock market is a mechanism that channels the growth of businesses into your pocket. Every publicly traded company is like a tree in a vast forest. You own a share of each tree's future fruit when you invest. Over decades, that fruit multiplies, seeds new growth, and creates a self-reinforcing cycle known as compounding. It's not magic, it's math, powered by time and steady contributions. Here's the truth. Over the long term, the market always trends upward. Yes, it dips, crashes, and tests your nerve. But historically, it has delivered an average annual return of about 7% at 8% after inflation. That means if you plant $1,000 of seeds today, by this time next decade, you'll likely have around $2,000, enough to plant even more seeds for your future. This is how ordinary people become extraordinary wealth builders. To harness this ally, you don't need a PhD in finance or insider tips. You need a simple, consistent approach. Open an investment account. Choose a low-cost index fund that tracks the broad market, and commit to regular contributions. Index funds are like buying a basket filled with a tiny slice of thousands of companies, from tech giants to hidden gems. You're not betting on one tree. You're planting an entire orchard. Why index funds? First, they're diversified. The downturns in one sector are often offset by growth in another. Second, they're low cost. Fees as low as 0.03% to 0.05% a year. Those tiny percentages matter. Imagine paying $5 in fees on every $10,000 invested versus $800 over years. The smaller fee keeps more money working for you. Third, they remove guesswork and emotion. You don't have to choose the next hot stock or fret over quarterly earnings reports. You simply buy the market and let it grow. Real-world example. David, age 25, starts investing $500 a month in a total stock market index fund. He automates the contribution so it happens before he even sees his paycheck. He ignores every news alert. No panicky calls to his broker when the headlines flash doom. After 40 years, assuming a 7% average return, David's portfolio exceeds $1.3 million. He never picked individual stocks. He never timed the market. He simply planted seeds consistently and let compounding do its magic. Every contribution you make is like sending workers into the world. Tiny money workers who buy shares, earn return, and then reinvest to hire more workers. Your job is to send as many as you can, as often as you can, and trust the process. Over decades, that army of dollars becomes unstoppable. Of course, the market has bumps. When a recession hits or a geopolitical crisis rattles investors, prices tumble. But smart investors see these moments as opportunities, not disasters. When prices fall, your regular contributions buy more shares at a discount. It's like shopping during a sale, except the sale never ends, and you're guaranteed a long-term rebound. This mindset, staying the course and buying through downturns, is what separates winners from panic sellers. Real-world example. In 2008, the market dropped over 50%. Many investors sold, locking in losses. But those who stayed invested and kept contributing saw their portfolios not only recover, but soar to new highs. Buy and hold investors who maintained their habit between 2008 and 2020 experienced one of the most powerful bull runs in history. Those who fled missed the rebound. To act on this ally, start by picking a broad index fund, such as one that covers the entire U.S. stock market, or a global index if you prefer international exposure. If you're in the U.S., Popular choices include total market and S&P 500 index funds. If you're elsewhere, find the equivalent in your country or a global fund. Look for expense ratios under 0.2%. The lower, the better. Next, automate contributions. Decide on an amount you're comfortable with, 50 on a 100 or more, and set it up so the money transfers directly from your bank to your investment account each pay period. Automation removes emotion. You don't debate, is today a good time to buy? And because the purchase happens on schedule. Rain or shine. Maintain perspective by focusing on your long-term goals. Market dips are inevitable. When you see red numbers, resist the urge to check your balance every hour. Embrace the dip as a chance to buy more shares on sale. If you want, set an alert or journal entry that reminds you, when the market drops off 20%, buy more. That proactive plan beats reactive panic every time. Consider dollar cost averaging, investing the same amount at regular intervals. Regardless of price, this strategy smooths out volatility, ensuring you buy at both high and low points. Over years, the average cost per share tends to be lower than if you tried to time entry points, and your investment grows steadily. Another powerful habit, reinvest dividends. Dividends are like bonus fruit your trees yield. When you allow dividends to buy additional shares automatically, you turbocharge compounding. That reinvestment becomes another layer of your money worker army. Remember, investing is not a sprint. It's a marathon. You won't see overnight miracles. And that's okay. True wealth grows quietly, invisibly, in the background of your life. Meanwhile, you live with less stress, knowing your money is busy building your future. You don't gamble on guesses. You participate in the broad growth of businesses that drive the global economy. Here's your challenge for today. Open a brokerage or investment account if you haven't already. If you already have one, review your current funds and their expense ratios. Then choose a total market or S&P 500 index fund with an expense ratio below 0.2%. Set up an automatic contribution. Start with whatever feels comfortable and plan to increase it over time. Finally, schedule a monthly reminder to ignore market noise and let your money workers do their job. With each contribution, you're recruiting more allies for your path to freedom. You're alone in the late-night glow of your laptop, the ticker's red numbers dancing across your screen like taunting phantoms. You'd convinced yourself this one stock was your golden ticket, funneling half your savings into it. Now it collapses, and your chest tightens with a cold knot of regret. I know pep talk or extra latte can soothe that sinking feeling. That night, you learned the hard way. Chasing single winners feels exhilarating until it leaves you anxious, sleepless, and doubting every decision you've made. In the aftermath, you begin to wonder, must investing always feel like riding a roller coaster without a safety bar? Could there be a calmer path where your money grows without sending your pulse into overdrive each time the market wobbles? What if, instead of hunting lone winners, you planted an entire orchard, diverse, resilient, capable of weathering storms? That's the promise of index funds, a straightforward path that trades heart-pounding speculation for steady, quiet compounding. Later, you'll discover 3 simple secrets that make this approach both unshakable and accessible to anyone, regardless of experience. Picture that orchard, endless rows of seedlings stretching beyond your vision, each one a household brand, a global corporation, or an emerging innovator. You aren't tied to any single sapling. You own fragments of every tree. When technology surges, you benefit. When energy or healthcare falters, the rest of the grove carries the uplift. Your forest thrives on balance, not on finding the one. Over years and decades, that collective growth transforms modest contributions into towering wealth. This living, breathing ecosystem is exactly what your future nest egg becomes. You might hear whispers that you need to pick hot stocks or time the market perfectly. But those tales usually end in heartbreak. The true edge comes from spreading your bets wide. By owning a total market fund, you gain tiny pieces of thousands of businesses, from the corner coffee shop stock to global giants. You don't need clairvoyance when diversity cushions downturns and amplifies long-term growth. It's simple, powerful, and available to everyone. Then there's the stealth tax most investors overlook: fees. Active managers who promise to beat the market charge fees that can eat away a full percentage point or more of your returns each year. That may sound negligible, but with compounding, a 1% fee can turn a 7% gain into a 6% gain, shaving decades off your timeline. Index funds minimize this drag with fees as low as a few basis points. Keeping costs lean means you keep more returns sailing back into your orchard. Automation transforms your plan from wishful thinking into unstoppable progress. Treat investing like a monthly bill, and you remove the temptation to skip or delay. When contributions flow automatically, you buy regardless of the headlines, crash or rally. Your account receives a steady dose of new shares. You don't wrestle with timing or fear missing out. You build a rhythm where planting seeds become second nature, Kate. It's the simplest firewall against emotional mistakes. One reader shared how this played out in her life. Maria, a kindergarten teacher, started small, just $200 a month. She set it, forgot it, and carried on with her days of lesson plans and carpool lines. 2 years later, she stumbled onto her investment statement and blinked at the balance, nearly doubled from her contributions. The shock on her face turned to a quiet grin as she realized she'd built a genuine nest egg without sacrificing her morning coffee or evening outings. Her astonishment was matched only by her relief. David was 25, fresh out of college, unsure if he'd ever feel confident about money. He picked an index fund and pledged $500 per month, funding it from his modest salary and occasional freelance gigs. He automated everything, so contributions left before he saw the cash. Over the next decade, the balance quietly swelled. When he checked again at 35, he saw nearly $100,000 waiting, proof that small, consistent actions build monuments over time. He tells friends he owes his morning calm and weekend freedom to that simple habit, not to any risky bet. Starting is easier than you think. Open a brokerage or retirement account. You don't need a fortune up front. Many platforms let you begin with zero minimums. Seek out a total market or S&P 500 fund with fees under 0.2%. Then set a recurring transfer. Make it automatic so it disappears before you're tempted to spend. Picture each contribution as another sapling planted in your orchard. Over time, you won't miss the money. But you'll marvel at how a few dollars per week grow into a robust grove of financial security. And then there's dividends. Those extra drops of water that feed your orchard every quarter. When companies distribute earnings, you can reinvest them automatically, reinfusing your account with fresh shares. That continuous reinvestment accelerates your growth more than you might expect. It's like watering twice as often without lifting a finger. Every dividend is a growth catalyst. planting new seedlings that flourish alongside your regular contributions. Market headlines will try to drag you back into panic, flashing red charts, doom-laden commentary, experts urging you to sell. Resist. Remember that your only job is to stay the course. Give yourself simple mantras. Stay balanced. Trust its time. Ignore the noise, and repeat them when fear creeps in. If you need a reminder, schedule a monthly check-in instead of constant monitoring. Your orchard thrives when you invest steadily and then step away, allowing nature to unfold at its own pace. Fear is an indicator you're on the right path. Lean into it. Over time, you'll notice a shift so profound that your friends and family remark on it. You move through your day unburdened by financial what-ifs, carrying yourself with a quiet confidence that surprises even you, and making choices rooted in purpose rather than panic. You savor investing's serenity more than any market magic. Imagine waking one morning, checking your balance out of habit, and feeling only calm satisfaction. No adrenaline spike, no stomach churn. That peace is the reward of consistency, discipline, and trust in a simple path. You negotiate races from strength, pursue passion projects without second guessing, and embrace life's opportunities knowing your orchard grows patiently in the background. Wealth becomes not a goal you chase, but a state you inhabit, grounded in the knowledge that time and habit are your greatest allies. As you plant these seeds and watch your orchard flourish, you'll learn to guard those gains fiercely. In the next section, you'll uncover the hidden fees and conflicts buried in so-called advice, revealing why the people who claim to help often end up costing you the most. Knowing these red flags could save you more than any market windfall. You meet Karen at a coffee shop on a Tuesday morning. She's clutching a manila folder filled with statements and recommendations from a financial advisor she trusted. Her eyes are bright with hope as she explains the plan. Complex portfolios, insurance-based products, and a promise to beat the market by timing every turn. 6 months later, her balance lags behind the simplest index fund. Fees have quietly devoured thousands, and she feels the knot of regret tightening in her chest. That heartbreak taught her a harsh lesson. The people who claim to guide you often have agendas of their own. You've seen the ads. Expert advice for your retirement. Personalized portfolio management. Access to exclusive investments. They sound reputable. Professional offices. Polished brochures. Confident smiles. But what they don't say is that most advisors aren't legally bound to put your interests first. Instead, they operate under a suitability standard, meaning as long as a product is deemed suitable, they can sell it, even if a better alternative exists. You end up paying hidden commissions, wrap fees, or surrender charges that quietly gnaw at your returns. That morning with Karen, you notice her voice tremble as she recounts the invisible tax she's been paying. A 1% annual fee on her managed fund, plus surrender fees if she dared to switch, plus transaction costs each time her advisor rebalanced the portfolio. By contrast, a simple index fund would have cost a fraction of that, leaving more of her money to compound for her future. The worst part? She felt safe. Every meeting with her advisor involved polished charts, glossy projection, and promises of active management that would protect her from downturns. But history shows most active managers fail to beat their benchmarks over time, especially after fees. You begin to realize that when someone profits more if you buy rather than hold, their advice can't be completely unbiased. Imagine a restaurant where the chef only earns a commission on lobster sales. Would you trust recommendations for lobster every night, even when the catch is poor? Yet that's precisely how many advisors work. Products pay them commissions or trailers, so they steer you toward what fattens their pockets, not yours. You weren't irresponsible. You were simply guided by someone with different priorities. You recall your own misstep a few years back. You handed over $50,000 to a so-called fiduciary who assured you he'd tailor a portfolio to your goals. But you never asked, how do you get paid? You assumed the term fiduciary meant he'd act in your best interest 100% of the time. When you dug into the fine print, you discovered he received referral fees for insurance products and earned asset under management fees every quarter, regardless of performance. That quarterly statement became a reminder that good intentions aren't enough. Transparency is. It doesn't help that industry language confuses advisor, broker, and financial planner. Brokers earn commissions. Planners may charge hourly or flat fees, but not all do. Only fee-only fiduciaries truly eliminate the commission incentive. You learn to vet titles and certifications. CFP. Professionals are bound by a fiduciary oath. Insurance agents and brokers generally are not. That clarity empowers you. You stop assuming everyone advising you shares your goals. Your heart sinks when you tally the cost. On $100,000, a 1% advisory fee is $1,000 per year. Over 20 years, that's $20,000 stripped away before compounding. And that's just the advisory fee. Add fund expense ratios of 0.8% or more, and you're bleeding money without realizing it. Meanwhile, low-cost index funds might charge a combined fee under 15%, leaving you with nearly a full percentage point more growth each year. Karen's folder lies open on the table as she asks, "How do I fix this?" You explain the first crucial step. Ask every advisor 2 direct questions. Are you a fiduciary? And how are you compensated? If the answer to the first isn't an enthusiastic yes, or the second involves commissions, walk away, no excuses. You deserve clarity, not loopholes. Next, you encourage her to audit her current accounts. Look at every line on her statements, advisory fees, fund expense ratios, surrender charges, transaction costs. Calculate the total drag on her returns. You offer to do the math together. If her portfolio earns an average 6% net of fees, what could it have grown to at 7%? Those seemingly small percentages morph into tens of thousands over time. She's stunned. The numbers crystallize the hidden tolls she's paid, but the realization also ignites resolve. Knowledge is power. Once she understands how fees compound against her, she's armed to demand better. You tell her how to find fee-only advisors or to manage her own investments via low-cost index funds. You remind her that simple systems often outperform complex strategies, especially when fewer hands dip into her pot. You share stories of friends who escaped expensive advice. One friend, Leo, shifted $200,000 out of high-fee managed accounts into 3 broad market index funds. He calls it the day I took my future back. Within a year, his returns outpaced his previous performance, and he slept easier knowing fewer unknown fees lurked in the shadows. Another acquaintance, Tanya, discovered she'd been ensouled in an annuity with a hefty front-end sales load. She felt trapped until she learned how to compare products, read prospectuses, and negotiate surrender waivers. She'd almost missed the window to transfer her funds penalty-free. That close call taught her the value of due diligence. You realize the pattern. People end up in these situations not because they lack intelligence, but because the advice industry is engineered to capitalize on confusion. Complex jargon, inscrutable fee schedules, and revolving door recommendations keep clients reliant on their trusted advisor. Meanwhile, their money drifts ever slower into the promised land of financial freedom. Your advice to Karen is compassionate but firm. You tell her she can manage her own money better than most advisors. Armed with a few core principles: spend less than you earn, avoid debt, we use low-cost index funds, automate contributions, and tune out the noise. If she craves professional help, you guide her to fee-only fiduciary planners who charge a flat fee or hourly rate, and who will clearly disclose conflicts. You watch relief wash across her face as she closes the folder. She feels unburdened, no longer chained to opaque advice. Clarity spreads through her voice when she says, "I feel like I can breathe again." That's the true gift: control over her own financial destiny. As the cafe hum fades around you, you both lean forward, energized by her new resolve. You smile and say, "Next, let's dive into the simple formula that will drive your wealth: saving, investing, and waiting. It's the engine that powers everything you've learned so far." Karen nods, anticipation flickering in her eyes. She's ready for the next step on this journey to freedom. You slide into your favorite chair at home, cup of tea in hand, and you feel the weight of all you've learned settle into a single truth. Building wealth isn't about secret strategies or insider tips. It's about a simple formula so elegant in it almost feels unfair. I call it the Save, Invest, Wait engine. And it's the heartbeat behind every financial victory you'll ever achieve. No more magic bullets. Just 3 steps you can start today, no matter where you are. Think back to the first time you realized you couldn't spend every penny you earned. Maybe you tracked your expenses and saw how fast small indulgences added up. Weekend brunches, streaming trials you forgot to cancel, impulse buys at checkout. That awareness was your launching pad. And you grasped that every dollar you didn't spend was fuel for your future. That moment, that spark of understanding, was step 1. Save. Saving isn't glamorous. It doesn't come with shiny apps or endless options. It's you deciding that a portion of your income will never cross the threshold of your checking account. You pay yourself first, sending those dollars straight into a savings or investment account before temptation beckons. It could be 5%, 10%, even 50% of your paycheck, whatever suits your life. The percentage matters less than the habit. When saving becomes automatic, you free yourself from the guilt and regret cycle because you didn't leave it to chance. You made it non-negotiable. I remember the morning I committed to saving 20% of my paycheck. I felt a pang. I loved my gadgets and occasional splurges, but I felt something stronger: the exhilaration of taking control. That first automated transfer felt exhilarating, like watching my future self receive a gift. Over months, the numbers climbed slowly, and then faster. And eventually, I hardly noticed the money leaving my account. That's the paradox of saving. It hurts most in the beginning, then becomes the engine of empowerment. Once you've mastered saving, you move to step 2, invest. Saving alone, tucked under a mattress, doesn't outrun inflation. Investing is where your money workers get dispatched, planting seeds across the global economy. You've already seen the quiet power of index funds, They are perfectly suited for this formula. Each dollar you save becomes a worker you send out to harvest returns, reinvest dividends, and multiply itself over time. Imagine throwing handfuls of seeds onto fertile soil. First, they poke through the ground timidly, then sprout into saplings, and eventually stand as sturdy trees. Your investments grow in a similar pattern, slow at first, then accelerating as compounding kicks in. The key is consistency. You invest regularly, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, regardless of headlines. When the market dips, your fixed contributions buy more shares. When it climbs, you ride the wave. You don't guess or hesitate. You simply fuel the engine. I recall a friend, Raj, who hesitated to invest until he had a large sum saved. He worried about starting too small. Yet meanwhile, his savings account stagnated, and inflation quietly eroded his purchasing power. One afternoon, he sent me a message. I've decided to start with $50 a week. That week, and every week after, he automated his contribution. A year later, he marveled at watching a modest balance grow steadily. He realized that had he delayed another 6 months, he would have missed crucial growth. And that sense of regret lit a fire under him to press forward without overthinking. That leads you to step 3. Wait. Patience is your hidden superpower. The financial world celebrates adrenaline rushes, day trading, flip and hold schemes, get-rich-quick promises, but the real magic unfolds in the quiet stretch of years, not minutes. Waiting means letting compounding weave its slow-motion miracle. Your workers double, reinvest, and recruit new workers without drama. Your portfolio grows exponentially, not linearly. Waiting isn't always comfortable. There will be market corrections, sectors faltering, times when the balance dips below your contributions. You might feel a sting, a whisper of doubt. That's normal. In those moments, remind yourself that volatility is the price of admission to long-term returns. The same roller coaster that terrifies many becomes your opportunity to plant more seeds at discount prices. Every downturn is a sale, your chance to accelerate growth. I'll never forget the phone call I got in the spring of 2020. I'm terrified, my cousin Elena said. My investment dropped 30% overnight. I asked her, "Did you stop investing?" She admitted she paused her contributions. I urged her, "Keep going. Buy more now if you can." A year later, she messaged back, "I did. I nearly doubled my position at lower prices, and now I'm ahead." Nora, waiting with courage and continuing to invest through downturns is how fortunes are built. As you weave these 3 steps into your life, save automatically, invest relentlessly, and wait patiently, you ignite a feedback loop. Saving becomes easier because you see your portfolio grow. Investing feels exciting rather than scary because you trust your process. Waiting transforms from an anxious countdown into confident belief that each passing day fuels your freedom. The engine hums, and you ride its momentum. This formula scales with your life. As your income rises, you can increase your saving rate. As you master investing basics, you might explore multiple accounts, retirement, taxable, college funds. But the core remains the same. Each account channels your saved dollars into a low-cost market exposure. Then you wait. That's it. No need for side bets, exotic strategies, or timing the next headline. You've found the straightforward route. Your challenge for today is twofold. First, review your latest paycheck. Identify the percentage you're currently saving. If it's not set up to flow automatically, set up that transfer now. Even if it's only 5%, commit to it. Sir. Second, choose or confirm your investment vehicle, a broad index fund or ETF with minimal fees. Automate that contribution too. Once both are in place, you release and control and let the formula do its work. Then embrace step 3. Wait. No peeking at balances during downturns. Let time and habit lead you forward. Because the truth is, consistent action over time is the simplest, most reliable path to wealth. You don't need to be the smartest or the fastest. You just need to start, keep going, and let patience compound your efforts into freedom. And soon, you'll see why market crashes are opportunities, not disasters, and how to harness them to accelerate your journey. You're scrolling through your phone in the quiet of early morning when the headline flashes. Market plunges 3,000 points. Worst crash since 2022. A knot forms in your stomach as you watch red bars extend like tendrils of panic across the screen. Your mind races. Have I lost everything? Should I sell before it gets worse? That instinct to flee, to cut losses and run, feels urgent. Yet it's precisely the moment when the brave investor sees a gift rather than a threat. Remember that autumn evening in 2008 when the world seemed to tilt on its axis? You might have been finishing dinner, turning on the TV for the latest news, only to see your retirement balance halved by breakfast. Families panicked. Advisors urged clients to sit tight or worse, to lock in losses. But a quieter truth emerged. Every crash is a sale on shares. Prices slump, fear spikes, and those who continue buying at the low end reap outsized rewards when the rebound arrives. Think back to that time you first dipped your toe into investing. You probably started small, terrified of being crushed by market downturns. You clicked buy at a price that felt uncomfortably high, then watched your position shrink as uncertainty gripped the financial world. You wondered if you'd made a mistake. But imagine instead that you'd strapped yourself in for a roller coaster with your eyes wide open, expecting dips and thrills, knowing the only dangerous move is jumping off mid-ride. Market history is a tapestry of crashes and recoveries. The dot-com collapse, the Great Recession, the pandemic-triggered downturn, all delivered gut-wrenching moments followed by record highs. If you zoom out over decades, the line isn't a jagged freefall. It's a steadily climbing mountain. Yet most investors fixate on the jagged edges, missing the longer arc of growth. When the crash arrives, your instinct should be to plant more seeds. You've automated contributions, so every dip buys extra shares at bargain prices. That sale mindset turns fear into opportunity. Instead of hunkering down, you lean forward, investing what you can, confident that history favors the patient. You recall receiving an email from Jordan, a teacher who started contributing $200 monthly 7 years ago. During the spring of 2020, his contributions bought 40% more shares for the same amount. He sent me a screenshot of his account at the bottom of the crash, eyes gleaming despite the red. He wrote, "I've never felt more excited to buy." By the end of that year, his account had not only recovered, but soared to new highs. That experience reshaped his relationship with volatility. Crashes became moments of joy, not dread. It helps to reframe your narrative. Rather than, "Oh no, my portfolio is bleeding," shift to, "Great, I'm buying more at a discount." That simple reframe rewires your brain from fight or flight into strategic action. You embrace downturns as invitations to deepen your position, knowing that, over time, those extra shares will compound alongside your existing orchard. Of course, staying the course is easier said than done. Emotions swell when news outlets amplify doom, analysts forecast gloom, and every talking head demands your attention. But you've already built mental muscle by automating investments and trusting the process. Let that muscle memory guide you. When headlines roar, you keep planting. Imagine the psychological advantage this mindset gives you. While others cling to cash, paralyzed by fear, you quietly accumulate bargains. When the market recovers, and it always does, you start each rally from a position larger than before. You don't chase peaks, you build at troughs. Your wealth trajectory accelerates because you bought more shares precisely when they were cheapest. That disciplined courage shines brightest for those who must rely on their nest egg. Retirees who sold during crashes often find it hard to recover, forced to work longer or deplete savings faster. In contrast, those who weathered downturns and continued investing saw their portfolios both recover and deliver renewed growth, extending the life of their assets and preserving their freedom. I remember a conversation with Linda, a retiree who had planned to travel the world. When the recession hit, she paused her withdrawals and maintained her automatic contributions. She told me later, "I felt foolish buying when everyone else was selling, but it was the best decision I ever made." 2 years on, she resumed her travels, funded by a portfolio larger than it had been before the crash. Her trips began not out of desperation, but out of delight. To internalize this approach, visualize a timeline on your wall. Mark every crash over the past 50 years. Then plot the recovery. Notice how each downturn was followed by even higher peaks. See the pattern not as chaos, but as cycles of renewal. Crashes are not bookend disasters. They're recurring chapters that rewrite your outcome if you choose to buy the dip. Your challenge for today is twofold. First, decide on a cash reserve you'd feel comfortable investing during the next significant downturn, enough to make a meaningful purchase without jeopardizing your essentials. Second, write down your commitment in bold. I will invest greens if the market drops 20%. Place that note where you'll see it when fear tugs at you. When the moment arrives, you'll have a plan that turns panic into purpose. As you embrace crashes as opportunities, you'll find yourself calm in the eye of every storm. You'll buy shares with quiet enthusiasm while others succumb to fear. That disciplined action compounds over time, accelerating your climb toward freedom. And as your portfolio grows, the knot in your stomach dissolves, replaced by the trust that each downturn is simply the market's way of offering you a discount. In the next section, you'll learn how to calculate your precise financial independence number, using the 4% rule to pinpoint the exact height of your future summit. You're sitting at your kitchen table late at night, a single lamp casting a warm pool of light over your scattered receipts and bank statements. Your partner leans back in their chair, eyes bright with curiosity as you both stare at the numbers on your laptop screen. This isn't about budgets or bills tonight. It's about freedom. You're about to calculate your financial independence number, the precise sum that, once invested, could replace your paycheck and buy you the choice to work, or not, on your own terms. You remember the first time you heard about the 4% rule. It sounded so straightforward that you almost dismissed it as too simple. But simplicity is its secret power. According to decades of research, if you withdraw no more than 4% of your portfolio each year, adjusted for inflation, your investments have historically lasted at least 30 years. That means if you need $40,000 a year to live comfortably, you'd multiply by 25, the inverse of 4%, and arrive at a $1 million target. $1 million invested wisely equals a sustainable $40,000 annual income. Money working for you instead of you working for money. You feel a flutter of excitement as you type annual expenses into your spreadsheet. You list rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, insurance, transportation, minimal medical costs, and essential incidentals. No takeout treats or weekend getaways yet. The total pops up. $3,200 per month, or $50,400 a year. You glance at your partner, whose grin mirrors your own anticipation. 25 times $30,400 is $960,000. That's your mountain to climb, your personal summit of freedom. Can you picture it? You ask. Eyes shining. What would life feel like if that number sat in our accounts, quietly fueling our days? You imagine waking without an alarm, spending mornings on passion projects, or visiting grandparents whenever you choose. No form to sign, no boss to answer to. That vision electrifies you more than any vacation ever could. To make that number achievable, you break it down into milestones. Suppose you're 30 today and aiming to reach $960,000 by 50. That's 20 years to build nearly $1 million. You can calculate how much you need to save and invest monthly to stay on track. The magic of compounding means you don't have to save the entire sum yourself. Your contributions and the market's growth work hand in hand. Using a conservative 7% average return, you determine that saving roughly $1,700 per month will put you on course. You and your partner share a look of mutual resolve. Challenging, but doable. You recall the story of Chris and Jen, the couple who discovered their FI number together. In their mid-30s, they sat at their dining table just like you, laughing about the idea of retiring early. They calculated their annual expenses, $32,000 combined, leading to a FI target of $800,000. By diligently saving half their combined income and investing in index funds, they reached that milestone in just 10 years and walked away from their full-time jobs in their early 40s. Their secret wasn't a higher salary or a hot startup. It was clarity, knowing exactly how much they needed and then methodically working toward it, charting your own path. You pause to reflect. Could you live on a lower annual budget? Every dollar you trim from your expenses lowers your FI target. If you cut $5,000 from your yearly spending by cooking more meals at home or downsizing your rental, you shrink your mountain by $125,000, and that realization thrills you. Purposeful frugality accelerates your journey. Of course, the 4% rule isn't a rigid mandate. It's a guideline built on historical data. Markets can underperform, inflation can surprise, or life circumstances may require adjustments. That's why flexibility matters. You consider a dynamic approach. In years when the market underperforms, you might withdraw slightly less, say 3.5%. And in boom years, you could stick to 4% or even take a small bonus. By treating that withdrawal rate as a dial rather than a switch, you build resilience into your plan. You remember the cautionary tale of a retiree friend whose FI calculation didn't account for rising healthcare costs. They reached their FI target, celebrated with early retirement, but later found medical bills cutting deeply into their nest egg because their annual withdrawal didn't cover those rising expenses. Learning from that, You decide to include a buffer in your calculation, perhaps aiming for a 5% initial withdrawal rate, or building an extra year of expenses into your FI total. That extra cushion feels wise, not paranoid. Once you've settled on a comfortable expense level and any additional buffers, you take a moment to set quarterly check-ins. Every 3 months, you'll revisit your actual spending, adjust projections if needed, and celebrate progress toward your target. Those check-ins keep you accountable and allow you to catch drift before it grows too large. They turn a distant dream into a living blueprint, constantly refined as life unfolds. What if we arrive early? Your partner asks with a wry smile. You both laugh at the notion of quitting conventional work at 40. But you both feel the possibility as entirely real. The knowledge that you could act on it without regret or fear infuses your life with newfound purpose. You won't stop earning just because you could. Instead, you'll choose projects that matter, volunteer, travel, or spend extra time with family. The world becomes your playground, not a cage. You jot down your FI number in bold letters at the top of your spreadsheet, $960,000, underlined twice. Beneath it, you note your current portfolio balance and the gap remaining. You set a visual progress bar, coloring in each milestone as you move closer. Seeing the bar creep toward completion each month is strangely addictive. It's like watching a sunrise in slow motion, incremental but inevitable. You envision the day you wake up and see that milestone reached. You click View My Portfolio and feel a quiet thrill, not panic. You print the spreadsheet and tape it to your vision board, a constant reminder that every dollar saved and invested is a step toward that moment. You imagine sharing a toast with loved ones, celebrating the hard work that led to this freedom. You picture that first morning waking without an alarm, your to-do list guided by passion, not necessity. Your challenge for today is clear. Tally your actual annual expenses, every rent payment, grocery trip, insurance premium, and minimal fun outing. Multiply that number by 25 to find your FI target. Write that target in a permanent spot on your spreadsheet header, your vision board, or even as a daily phone reminder. Then, calculate the monthly savings and investment needed to reach that number in your desired time frame. Commit to those figures, automate the transfers, and set quarterly reviews to track your climb. Each step transforms your goal from an abstract wish into a force you move toward every day. Because once you know your FI number, everything else falls into place. You shape your budget around it. Set your savings rate and channel your investments with purpose. You replace uncertainty with clarity, habit with momentum, and doubt with anticipation. And with each contribution, you're not just building wealth, you're building the life you've always imagined. You wake up one morning without an alarm, sunlight spilling through your window. And for a moment, you lie there thinking, is today a work day? The idea that every day feels optional pulls at you with a mix of exhilaration and disbelief. That's life after FI. Your investments generate enough income to cover your living expenses, turning your to-do list into a canvas of possibilities rather than obligations. Remember the day you hit your FI number? You clicked View Portfolio and saw it right there. Enough funds, generating enough returns to replace your salary. You felt a tidal wave of relief, followed by a flutter of excitement. Now what? Suddenly, the question that once terrified you, what if I lose my job? morphs into "what will I choose today?" You realize that freedom isn't just financial, it's psychological. You're no longer tethered to a schedule or a boss's whims. You're free to design your life. For some, life after FI begins with a deep exhale. You give notice at your job and watch through the window as your coworkers carry on, unaware that you've just stepped off the hamster wheel. You spend your first week hiking trails you drove past for years, breathing fresh air without checking your watch. On day 2, you volunteer at a local shelter, time you never would have carved out before. On day 3, you start writing that novel you shelved in college. Life flows at your own pace. Take the story of Maya, a software engineer who retired at 40. She used to code long hours, eyes glued to screens, chasing deadlines. After FI, she swapped her home office for a community garden plot. She spent mornings tending tomatoes and afternoons mentoring young coders pro bono. She tells friends her days feel fuller now than ever, filled with purpose rather than pressure. The skills she honed in tech, discipline, problem solving, collaboration, carry over into her volunteer work, making it deeply rewarding. Others discover that FI doesn't mean quitting work entirely. It means choosing work you love. Jason, once a corporate lawyer, reached FI in his early 50s and decided to start a small craft brewery with a friend. He uses his days to experiment with recipes and connect with customers at the tasting room, blending creativity and community in a way that his old career never did. He laughs that he traded courtroom battles for hops and yeast and swears he has never been happier. For couples, FI can deepen relationships. Imagine sharing breakfast without one partner rushing off to commute. You linger over coffee, talk about everything from kids' school projects to your joint vision for the future. You plan weekend getaways during off-peak seasons, grateful for flexibility. You have time to attend every recitals, sports matches, and family gatherings without juggling PTO or sacrificing work productivity. That presence becomes your greatest gift. Some channel their freedom into lifelong learning. You pick up languages you never had time for, enroll in online courses on subjects that intrigue you, or audit college classes at a fraction of the price. You join a book club, practice painting, learn to play guitar. The brain, like any muscle, thrives on challenge. FI gives you the bandwidth to nurture curiosity, transforming idle hours into opportunities for growth. Philanthropy often follows. When you're no longer scrambling to build wealth, you start thinking about impact. You donate to causes close to your heart, whether it's environmental restoration, education in underserved communities, or wildlife conservation. You volunteer your skills, legal consulting, financial coaching, website design to nonprofits that can't afford full-time staff. Your portfolio sustains you, but your time and expertise become gifts that ripple through the lives of others. Of course, life after FI comes with its own challenges. Without the structure of a job, days can blur. You might wrestle with purpose or question whether you deserve such freedom. That's why many create intentional routines, morning rituals, weekly meetings with friends who share FI status, or accountability groups where you set personal goals. Purpose isn't guaranteed by wealth alone. It emerges when you pair autonomy with direction. You recall the moment you crafted your FI vision, the image of leisurely mornings, meaningful work, and spontaneous adventures. Now you bring that vision to life by designing a weekly schedule that balances creativity, productivity, and rest. Maybe Mondays are for passion projects, Tuesdays for learning, Wednesdays for social impact, Thursdays for fitness and health, and Fridays for family time. Weekends become wild cards for exploration or relaxation. Each day feels curated, not commanded. Engaging your community becomes a priority. You host monthly potlucks where friends share their journeys, discuss books, or swap home improvement tips. You start a podcast interviewing fellow FIers about their pivot stories. That sense of belonging fosters enrichment and keeps the spark alive by how you're not isolated in privilege. You're part of a tribe that values growth, generosity, and freedom. Finances remain a background hum and not a constant obsession. You continue quarterly check-ins to ensure withdrawals stay within safe limits and adjust for inflation or life changes. You revisit your budget to account for new hobbies or travel plans. But the anxiety that once lurked in every price tag is gone. You make spending decisions based on joy and alignment with your values, not fear of bills or boardroom expectations. Then there's the joy of spontaneity. You decide on a Tuesday to drive to the coast for a long weekend, pack up snacks and a playlist, and go. No approvals needed. No guilt lingering. You take a last-minute flight to visit a lifelong friend in another city. When a loved one needs support, an unforeseen medical emergency, a family celebration, you're there without rearranging schedules or squeezing off days. FI gives you the luxury of responsiveness. You might even find yourself mentoring the next generation of FI goers. You offer workshops on budgeting, investing, and mindset for students or young professionals. You share your story, mistakes, and triumphs, so they can learn from your path and avoid detours. Guiding others amplifies your sense of purpose and embeds your journey within a larger movement toward financial empowerment for all. As the evening light fades, you reflect on how far you've come. FE is not an endpoint. It's a launch pad for a life defined by choice, impact, and authenticity. The job you once thought defined you feels like a chapter, not the whole story. You're the author of your narrative, free to add new chapters at your whim. Your challenge for today is to envision your ideal ALI lifestyle. Write down 3 priorities you want to pursue once you have full autonomy: creative, personal, or philanthropic. Then, sketch a simple weekly schedule that allocates time for each. Place this sketch somewhere you'll see daily. As you continue contributing, let that vision guide not only your financial decisions, but your time investments, ensuring your post-FI life aligns with your deepest values. With each step, you're not just achieving wealth, you're building a life that feels rich in every sense of the word. And next, you'll explore how to weave these principles into a lifelong practice, keeping simplicity at your core and momentum alive. You wake on a quiet Sunday morning, sunlight filtering through the curtains as you stretch and realize your mind is unburdened by budgets, debts, or market swings. You sit up, take a deep breath, and smile at the simplicity of the moment. This is the essence of the simple path for life, where financial habits become woven into your daily rhythm so organically that they require no effort to maintain, and you move through your days with clarity, purpose, and peace. Remember when you first embraced the wealth mindset? You shifted from asking, "What can I buy, Umat?" to, "What choices will this purchase unlock?" You saw money as a tool, not a trophy. That shift in perspective wasn't a one-off. It became the lens through which you viewed every decision. Now, that mindset guides not only major milestones, but small daily choices, like brewing coffee at home instead of grabbing a latte, or choosing to invest extra cash rather than drift into impulse spending. Debt avoidance too became more than a strategy. It became a commitment to freedom. You remember the knot in your chest when you faced those first minimum payments, the relief when you saw balances shrink. Today, you glance at that zero debt balance with the same pride you feel after a marathon finish. That discipline is ingrained now. You automatically avoid financing consumer goods and use credit only when you know you'll clear it by month's end. Debt is no longer a threat, but a distant memory. Spending less than you earn flows through every season of your life. You no longer track every penny obsessively. You've internalized the habit of intentional spending. When you sign up for a service, you ask yourself, does this align with my values and goals? If the answer is yes, you proceed confidently. If not, you let the opportunity pass without guilt. Your budget has grown into an expression of what matters most: health, relationships, growth, rather than a ledger of restrictions. EVU Money Foundations now stand as your ever-present safety net. You've built a cushion of 6 to 12 months of expenses, tucked away in a dedicated account you rarely think about. It sits quietly, a silent guardian against life's uncertainties. When you come across an opportunity, a side project, a volunteer role, a creative retreat, you don't hesitate. You act from a place of strength, knowing your Freedom Fund has your back. That security transforms your confidence. It turns what if into why not. Your relationship with the stock market and index funds is as steady as a well-tended garden. You set it and forget it, trusting automated contributions and reinvested dividends to nurture your orchard. When downturns arrive, you don't even notice them. Your heartbeat remains calm, your resolve unwavering. The orchard you planted decades ago continues to grow in the background while you focus on living fully in the present. By now, you've sidestepped costly advisory traps. You know exactly how you pay for professional help, if you ever enlist it. And you demand fiduciary duty and fee transparency. Hidden commissions and complicated products no longer obscure your path. You manage most of your money yourself or with a trusted fee-only planner, ensuring that every dollar stays in your account where it belongs. The save, invest, wait engine hums softly in the background of your life. Saving is automatic. Investing is effortless. Waiting is natural. You don't obsess over financial news, you tune out the noise. Your habits have become second nature, so ingrained that even on busy days, they require no extra thought. That consistency compounds into a life of abundance you once only dreamed of. Market crashes now register as opportunities. When you see red charts, you smile inwardly, knowing you're planting seeds at sale prices. You've perfected your crash plan, predetermined cash to deploy, automated contributions that keep flowing, mental mantras that silence panic. Over time, those disciplined actions amplify your returns, speeding you toward new heights of freedom. You've calculated your FI number and watched the progress bar inch closer to completion. That number remains a compass, not a prison. You revisit it occasionally, not to obsess, but to ensure you're on track. You've learned to adjust for life's changes, expanding your FI target when you take on new responsibilities, or pausing withdrawals when markets underperform. Flexibility ensures your simple path remains resilient. Life after FI has blossomed into a tapestry of purpose. Some days, you mentor young professionals on money habits. Other days, You volunteer at community projects or explore creative passions you once shelved. You might coach a neighbor on basic investing, host casual dinners where friends share insights, or simply savor mornings without an agenda. Every day feels curated to your values. In this chapter of your life, simplicity is not about sacrifice, but alignment. You focus on what brings joy and meaning, and let go of the rest. You move with intention, whether you're planning a family trip, diving into a hobby, or simply enjoying an unhurried walk. Money supports these choices without overshadowing them. You've built a life where financial clarity fuels emotional clarity. This lifelong practice thrives on small rituals, monthly check-ins on spending, quarterly reviews of progress, annual reflections on goals. You celebrate milestones, not with extravagance, but with gratitude. A favorite meal, a handwritten note to yourself, a quiet moment of reflection. You recognize that sustainable wealth is a marathon, not a sprint, and you pace yourself accordingly. Your challenge for today is to identify one new ritual that reinforces these habits. It might be a weekly money date with yourself to review your progress, a monthly call with an accountability partner, or a daily reminder of your core values that guide spending choices. Choose one and integrate it immediately. By weaving these rituals into your routine, you keep the simple path alive for a lifetime. As you carry these principles forward, simplicity, consistency, clarity, you fortify your freedom. Your life becomes a testament to the power of habit, the beauty of intentional living, and the quiet triumph of time. And now, with momentum on your side, you're ready to commit fully to this journey and invite others along. You close your journal, look up at the morning light, feeling the weight and wonder of your financial journey settle into a single, clear purpose. You're not just building wealth, you're building a life of intention, freedom, and impact. Every mindset shift, every dollar you saved, every seed you planted in that orchard of index funds, every crash you embraced as a gift, every calculation of your FI number, all of it leads here to the moment when you commit fully to the path ahead. You remember how you started, doubt and curiosity mingling as you asked, could this really work for me? You hesitated before tracing out that first vision of freedom, before listing your debts and slashing expenses, before automating contributions and letting time carry you forward. Yet each step you took, however small or tentative, brought you closer to a life defined by choice rather than circumstance. Now, you stand at the threshold of long-term commitment. This is the point where discipline transforms into identity. Saving isn't something you do, it's who you are. Investing isn't an occasional trial, it's your daily rhythm. Waiting isn't passive frustration, it's active trust. The habits you've cultivated are woven into the fabric of your days, and they carry forward into every future season of your life. To solidify this commitment, you create your personal manifesto, a living document that captures your values, your vision, and your intentions. You begin by writing a simple creed at the top. I choose freedom, clarity, and simplicity. Beneath it, you outline the core principles that guide your decisions. A wealth mindset rooted in tools over trophies. A debt-free life that preserves peace. A gap between income and spending that fuels growth. An unshakable cushion of FU money. A quiet alliance with the market through index funds. Vigilance against costly advice. The engine of save, invest, wait. A plan to seize opportunities in downturns. And the calculation, of your FI Summit. Then you add your personal goals, both financial and beyond. Maybe it's reaching a certain portfolio milestone by next year, or reducing your annual expenses by 5%, or sharing your knowledge with 10 friends through workshops or informal chats. Perhaps it's dedicating 20 hours a month to a creative passion or volunteering regularly in your community. You commit to weekly and monthly rituals, budget reviews, progress check-ins, vision board reflections that keep your manifesto alive, not buried on a dusty shelf. You seal this manifesto not with ink, but with action. You schedule recurring calendar events, money date every Monday morning to assess progress. Invest on dip alerts when markets fall by a predetermined percentage. Debt freedom anniversary to celebrate past victories. And FI reflection each quarter to ensure you're aligned with your broader life purpose. These rituals embed your commitment into your week, ensuring you never drift too far from your intention. You also choose accountability partners, friends or family who share your values and who will cheer your successes and gently nudge you back on track when distractions arise. You agree to monthly check-ins where you exchange updates, share lessons learned, and celebrate milestones, however small. You know that when you are part of a community, the path feels less solitary and the momentum becomes collective. Next, you decide to share your journey more broadly. Perhaps you start a simple blog or social media journal, posting monthly updates on your progress, your challenges, and the insights you glean. You don't seek validation. You seek to inspire and connect. Public accountability deepens your resolve and creates a ripple effect. Others see your story and gain confidence to start or recommit themselves. You also plan to mentor someone new to this path. You remember how daunting those first steps felt, the confusion over terms, the uncertainty about where to begin. Now you can offer a guiding hand, distilling years of learning into clear advice. Start with mindset, kill debt, automate saving and investing, and trust time. By teaching, you reinforce your own habits and create deeper meaning in your journey. As you weave these commitments into your life, you pause to reflect on the core question that launched this entire adventure. What does freedom look like to me? You revisit that vision. No nagging alarms, no financial stress, time for passion, presence with loved ones, and the power to choose every day. That vision remains your North Star, guiding not only your financial decisions, but every aspect of your life. You ink a final note at the bottom of your manifesto. Every choice is an opportunity to move closer to freedom. You commit to making even small decisions, cups of coffee brewed at home, renegotiated bills, extra contributions on market dips, with that guiding question in mind. You understand that the sum of tiny actions, taken consistently, yields transformative change. In this moment of full commitment, you feel a swell of conviction. The road ahead may wind through booms and busts, societal shifts, and personal changes. But you carry a map drawn by experience, a compass forged by principles, and a community walking alongside you. You are not chasing wealth for its own sake, but crafting a legacy of choice, peace, and purpose. Your challenge now is to sign your manifesto, digitally, physically, however feels right, and place it where you'll encounter it daily. Let it be a constant reminder that this simple path is not a one-time sprint, but a lifelong journey of intention. Then, share a copy with your accountability partner. Ask them to witness and support your commitment, and set a date for your first quarterly reflection. This is your moment of unwavering resolve. You stand not at the beginning nor at the end, but firmly on the path you've chosen, clear, purposeful, and full of possibility. There's a gentle satisfaction in knowing that simplicity, above all, is what sustains you. It is not in the roar of complex strategies or in chasing the latest trends that you find peace, but in the quiet constancy of your own intentions. You have learned to align your choices, big and small, with a vision of freedom that stretches across years and decades. A vision that grounds you when life's unpredictability stirs doubt. As you breathe in this moment, allow yourself to release any lingering anxiety about markets, budgets, or timelines. Your habits are now deep roots, anchored in discipline and compassion for yourself. When tomorrow brings its challenges, an unexpected expense, a sudden market dip, or a life transition, you will meet it with the calm assurance that your path endures. Remember that every dollar saved, every seed planted, every habit reinforced is a testament to your resolve. You have crafted rituals that carry you forward, regular reflections that brighten your vision, automated contributions that fuel your future, and accountability that strengthens your commitment. These rituals are more than tasks. They are promises you make to your future self, woven into the fabric of your life with intention. Know that success on this path is not measured solely by numbers on the screen, but by the quality of your days, the mornings you wake without dread, the projects you pursue out of passion, the moments you share fully with those you love. Those experiences, quiet breakfasts, volunteer work, creative pursuits, spontaneous adventures are the true dividends of your journey. Take comfort in the knowledge that you need not sprint toward an elusive finish line. The simple path is expansive, embracing every phase of life and adapting to new aspirations as they arise. Your financial independence is a foundation that supports growth, generosity, and joy, not a prison that limits your options. Finally, carry forward the compassion you have cultivated for yourself and for others. Share your insights, extend a helping hand, and celebrate the progress of those setting out on their own paths. Your story is a beacon, illuminating the way for others, and reminding you that community and shared purpose amplify the power of individual resolve. Walk ahead with confidence, curiosity, and grace. Let each day be an invitation to live your freedom, anchored in simplicity, guided by habit, and fueled by the enduring promise of choice.